So we want to get a going and make sure that everyone sees us as quickly as possible and get the whole entire hour with you, because this is absolutely amazing. We do have a connection and we are ready to rock and roll. I am so incredibly happy. Yes, absolutely. I'm so incredibly happy that we got Jeff Goin tonight on ClearProp TV, paratalk.org. Of course, is part of our new nonprofit, Run Into the Sky. And we have Jeff Goin on the podcast tonight. Welcome, Jeff Goin. We are so happy that you made it tonight.
Well, thank you. Great to be here.
So we know that I know there's no intro for you because everybody already knows you. Everybody probably read your book, right? If not, they're probably going to read it eventually. But Jeff, just for those of the people that are out there, maybe newbies that are thinking about getting into paramotoring or paragliding, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into paramotoring.
I've been into air things ever since I was 13 years old. So I started flying gliders, then power planes, then about in that time, ultralights came out. My parents said, no ultralights. And then I went to school for it. Then I got a job flying airplanes, and I got into the airlines, and I've done that for many years. And then in 1999, a friend of mine came and said, "Hey, Jeff, you want to go in with me on a powered paraglider?" A what? A powered paraglider. What the heck is that? And that was when it all started in this realm, because he knew I was an easy mark. I mean, I had a helicopter, for goodness sakes. But I didn't know what this thing was. And so I went and I looked at it, and I went to Nick Schulte's. He showed me about it. And then when I saw how much control you had with this thing, I went nuts, absolutely nuts. And that's also got into, well, how does this work? And how about the training? I wanted to get the best training possible and just the rest of it. So at some point I got into flying hang glider trikes, started the USPO when I saw that, this training thing, we need to really do something about that. So that's essentially the quick and dirty.
Well, excellent.
I probably missed pieces.
We seem like you're jumping in or out. We know that you are currently on a cell phone and you're heading back home. Hopefully you have good Wi-Fi there. Scuba Steve, is there any questions in the super chat?
Yes. Bill H was wanting to know from Mr. Goin, can he tell us about the Paramotor radio talk show?
Oh my goodness. PPG radio. Yeah. Oh, well, that was fun. With Michael Purdy. He was a very interesting character. Michael Purdy and Bob Armand, both interesting, colorful characters. Am I coming through okay now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good, because I am home now, and theoretically, it's appropriate because I'm actually going through space since we have Starlink for internet, so maybe that's part of why it's a little flaky. So, yeah, we started that. I don't remember the year, but was that like 90, 99 or 2000, somewhere, probably 2002. And he had an actual studio. He started a thing, what was it? World Talk Radio, I think. And that was going to be like the next big thing where you could rent studio space, come in, and it was like an old time radio station with high quality equipment, mixing boards and so forth. And we would interview people, go and get together. It was done in 3 places. I think sometimes Bob and Mike got together and did it, but yeah, that was early on. This goes way back.
So I know that there's probably questions from everybody on the panel now. So anybody on the panel, now's your time. Let's go ahead and ask Jeff some questions before we keep on going on this awesome interview.
Okay, I got one. So I got the Paramotor, the Powered Paragliding Bible number 7. Is there an 8 coming soon?
Well, not soon. Let's hope not soon. No, there's going to be an update. It's interesting, there's always new stuff. In my narrow little mind, I think, well, that's it. There's not going to be anything else new. Going to be able to take a break from updates. But if people send me information, it's not perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. It can always be improved. I've already made changes for edition 8 or for, let's just say, a revised edition 7, because doing a new version is a lot of work. But let me tell you, there's a mistake in a diagram that's been in that book for probably 4 revisions. And somebody sent me an email and said, hey, listen, I got the book. I like it. It's got a lot of blah, blah, blah. But there's an error, it looks like, on an illustration on page such and such. And I looked at that, and sure enough, he's right. That mistake wasn't about what I was trying to illustrate, but still it needs to be right. So I've already fixed it. So in the next edition or next update, so it's possible there could be an edition 7 revised. If there's not very many changes, I could consider that. Never done it, but it's a possibility. Although admittedly 7 was supposed to be that. Anyway, we see where that went.
What do you think about these recent Gaza attacks, or Quasar, or whatever the heck they're called? How do you think that's going to affect the paramotor industry, since they were basically flying trikes with a glider above their head?
Well, there weren't very many in all likelihood. I don't know how many. And they were manned, as I understand it. Well, that's not a very good plan. I don't think it's going to have any impact, because a number of reasons. But for one, it's pretty easy for a heat seeker. They were just, unfortunately, sadly, they were just completely unprepared. So I think they had their hands full of other attack vectors that it was just they weren't prepared for it. And slow moving, you can count on it, they're going to be prepared the next time. And I don't think it'll have any impact. A far better plan is to automate that. You can download automation software for drones. So it wouldn't be a big leap to expect automation for these. Now, of course, they're delivering the humans. That was part of the point. So it's a little different, but still, I don't think it'll affect us.
That's the other flip side. With Amazon getting the out of sight rules so that they can fly their drones, do you think that's going to cause anything to our industry?
I would be more concerned about that, because our regulation comes into a sharper focus in light of it. And although they're talking about being down at 400 feet, if they don't have a detect and avoid requirement, that's a problem, because, we could be out there in otherwise completely legal airspace and now find ourselves with these drones that are blindly going where many have gone before. And we don't want that. But I think I would expect that there will be a requirement for them to sense and avoid, meaning they have to be able to see other traffic.
Did we lose them, guys, or is it just me?
No, I think we lost him.
Lost.
If it's Starlink, he'll probably come back, because
when maybe a Starlink blackout.
Talking too much about.
Okay, are you there?
Yep.
There you go. We lost you.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. Oh, there I am. So now, okay. So yeah, the drones. Am I on? Are we good?
You're on.
We don't see you. Just have your picture up again.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So the other thing about the drones is I would expect we may be required to have ADS-B out at some point. And that wouldn't be all bad.
So you think the drones are going to have the see and avoid and ADSB in and out so they know where everybody is?
I would expect that. They've already got the technology and the equipment, so they can already do it. And as you may know, a company, U Avionics, sent me a sample to try for the purpose of selling to the paramotor market, basically to see if it works, if we could use it, and so forth. And I did that. I went flying with a paramotor. I asked Tim to go flying with the paramotor while I flew around with the airplane, and it worked brilliantly. So I like the idea just because I would rather the airplane.
And he's gone.
Now we lost him.
And he's back.
Yeah.
Good old Starlink.
You know what? I just
He just realized that he was still on
His phone.
his Wi-Fi, or not his. He was just on his phone and not his Wi-Fi. I bet.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to connect to the Wi-Fi.
one too.
There you go. I hear you now.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Well, I got a confession. I just realized I was not on Starlink. I was on Verizon only. Now I'm on Starlink.
Oh,
So-
that's much better. Okay,
now
good.
No one can blame it on Starlink. I'm just
Actually,
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. So let's see. Come on, Musk, do your thing for us.
So, I mean, is ADSB going to be really expensive? I mean, people that fly paramotors, obviously they got a little money, but ADSB seems to be really expensive, especially now. Is it going to come down?
If you look at the drone cost, it's about $1,200, I'm pretty sure. So for somebody that's out in the middle of nowhere, it seems like a waste. I completely agree. But for someone like me, when I go up, I'm here in Central Florida and there's everything out there. And sometimes I feel like I've got a bullseye painted on me. I would love to have it. So this test, by the way, went really well. It's just that they deemed our market to be too small. And so they're not getting in it. And I think there's a number of problems with insurance. So I think we would do better if we had that at least to offer. But right now, it doesn't appear that we do. So I guess it's just whether or not you think the $1,200 is worth it. I hope it comes down. It certainly seems like it could, but electronics aren't that cheap unless you get a pretty good volume. And I don't know if we'll get to that volume. But the thing is, the drones have to have it. Well, that is a high volume. So why not let us use that same technology? All as it is a setting in there that says, hey, I'm an ultralight. And I know, I think Harvey Milne, he went through the process of getting a certified aircraft, but that is an ordeal. So right now it's impractical. But so that's where go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was wondering, have you used Gaggle or heard of Gaggle app?
I have not. There's another one, isn't there, in Europe? What's that called?
I think that's Gaggle, is it not?
Maybe. I thought it was called something else.
Maybe XC Skies. I'm not sure, but they have Gaggle out right now, and we can actually see other airplanes that have ADSB out, but I'm not sure how that could be integrated into kind of letting them know about where we are also in space through the app.
Well, yeah. The problem is that the app would have to connect to the air traffic services. So yeah, we can see him, but the point is, what about the guy flying his Citation at 3,000 feet? And you're perfectly legal to be there. Heck, I was just flying the 737 into Burbank a couple of days ago thinking, and I'm looking at the chart and it's like, yeah, I could be right here in a paramotor, right here. Don't need to be broadcasting anything. So I would think that it would be nice. I wish I could remember the name of the other one. There's a really popular one. If they could integrate it into the air traffic services, then why not? Because that's using the phone system. So it's about as reliable as this previous phone call has been, right? That's the problem. You get dropouts. So it has to go through the cellular system, which is not optimized for use up in the air. That could be a problem.
Gotcha.
In Gaggle, there's that additional feature that's taught there. I think it's called Safe Flight, where you can opt into that, and it's done over cell.
Will, you got something? I can't even see you on the screen. You got a question? I got my stuff out of the way.
Jim is talking, Scuba.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I can barely hear him. Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that. Is that better? There. Is that better?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so Gaggle has a feature that's called Safe Flight, I believe it is.
Okay.
And when you access that, you turn it on, you can set your own call sign, and it will broadcast to people who are connected to that app. So
Okay, yeah.
and I believe
The other app, so he was just saying that on Gaggle, you can opt in so that other people can see you, which is really cool for people that have the app. But the people that we want to reach, they're flying an airliner down to a Cessna 150 or even smaller. Those people are going to be relying on ADSB. ADSB can get signals from air traffic control, but if the air traffic control is connected to, let's say, that app, they could send airplane locations that way. And that would be really valuable. There's technologically, I don't think there's a problem with it, but they would have to be connected to the data in the app. And that will be a pain point for the FAA, because is that data reliable, or is someone sending out ghost images that could cause problems? So I think that's where we might run into problems. But
so
if
with
it happens, it would be all.
So with those bigger planes, do they use ForeFlight at all ever?
Or flight.
Some do. Yeah. We don't use ForeFlight at my airline, but some airlines do use it as a backup. I don't know of any airlines that are using it as primary. They all use something called Jeppesen FD, like Flight Deck Pro. That's almost universal. It's probably not going to be connected legally. They're not going to connect it to anything other than a certified source. So it's doubtful that we'll see that for a while, if ever, through that method. So the ADSB signal can come both from other airplanes and from the ground stations, the air traffic ground stations. But they're probably not going to allow it to come from, say, the cell system through Gaggle or its ilk.
Okay, interesting.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Jeff. The
Yeah.
part is the big problem is the sending of the signal, not the receiving. It's like a radio station versus transmitting, a radio station. So I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with the ability to just simply receive and to know what's around me.
Well, a problem with that is the airplanes are much, much faster. So we represent essentially the same risk whether we're flying away from a target or towards it. So the people that need to see what's out there are those flying the airplanes. And that means we need to be transmitting. And I'm not saying, to require it, but I would rather require it than be restricted.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you still fly a paramotor, Jeff? I mean, I'm just wondering because
Yeah, but nowhere near as often as I used to. But yeah, I do.
Okay.
If you're not so much, I've said this many a times. You're not so much a paramotor pilot as you are a mechanic who gets to test his work. So, but I still do fly. I mean, I've been flying. I still fly the helicopter and the airplane, and I haven't flown the hang glider trike is what suffered the most, but the paramotor is still the most fun.
Absolutely. Hey, Will Fly,
Running
is there
into
any
the-
other question? Oh, I'm sorry. Will Fly, was there any other questions in the super chat?
Yes, Jeremy wants me to ask you about the paramotor competitions at Beach Blast, and if you think similar competitions will pop up in the future in the USA.
I have no idea, because what that takes is somebody with a lot of drive to run it and put together a team of people. And now we know that to do that safely requires over water. And when I was doing competition, running competitions, participating, we were doing it over land, which is far easier to organize. You don't need the big pylons. But history has now shown that's not a good idea. Not unless we were to change the competition quite a bit. If you're going to put somebody on speed bar on one of these things, and really to be competitive now, you need to have a big motor and a small wing with everything in the speed bar. It's all the modern competition wings put both trimmer action and speed bar action on your feet. And you need that to be competitive. You can go from, when you're going around the pylons, you want as slow as you can get. And then when you hit the straightaway, if there's much straightaway for that segment, you want full speed. So a well-flown competition will be done at almost full power almost all the time, but modulating the speed bar. And if you get that wrong on many, many wings, it doesn't go well. So it's really all about somebody out there to put it together. And the other problem is we have in the United States far fewer pilots per square mile. So to get enough people to compete, they got to drive a long ways. And that makes it tougher because, we went down this road, we tried it for years, and it's just too hard to put it together, and there's risk. You can't get insurance. And so I don't know. It's all going to be, if there's somebody that can figure out a way maybe to make it pay, some prize money, somebody with some drive, and that's what it takes. So
Sponsored with deep pockets. That would be nice.
That would help. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
hasn't
definitely.
the industry grown? I mean, like I would say since 2020 till now, hasn't it jumped up a significant amount? It seems like a lot of people got into paramotoring in the last 2 or 3 years. It's like
it has. However, let's consider another sport that has grown in popularity. And just take, for example, skiing. What percentage of skiers want to compete?
What about pickleball?
Hey, I'm about to start kind of competing in pickleball.
I'm hearing,
So-
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was like, I've just been hearing a lot of that. A lot of people my age
it's
are getting
great.
are going to the gyms or doing that.
Doing that. And younger. You don't have to be an oldster to do it. I play mostly people that are younger than me, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to go to this. I'm going to sock. I mean, I'm not going to make any bones about the fact that I'm going to sock, but that's okay. I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to compete. And it's really easy to put up a pickleball competition. It's like, you got a court? Well, I got a court out in front of the hangar here because, pour a little bit of concrete. We already have the concrete for the apron, and then paint it. So anyway, but if you look at,
does it start out with ping pong? Playing ping pong first, do the wrist
ping pong is
and then you
it's
go
a good
to
gateway
pickleball.
drug. Yeah, it's good. If you're good at ping pong or tennis, you're going to pick this up real quick.
Oh,
Yep.
oh boy. And you
But-
don't want to see me out there.
Yeah, be no different than me. Suckage comes in great scales.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
but
hockey.
if you looked at the number of people that compete in something like skiing, where it takes a little bit to set up a competition, it's tiny. And if you applied that same percentage to paramotor, even with the increased numbers, it's going to be a much smaller percentage because of how difficult it is to get all your gear there. With skiing, it's easy. You can ship it on an airliner. Well, that's difficult with a paramotor. So I think it's a taller order to get competition going. And now you've got to get the pylons. You got to get them out over the water. There are some types of competitions that I think we should probably do that you can do safely over land, namely spot landing. Why not do spot landing competitions at fly-ins?
Oh, I saw that on Facebook a couple months ago. I forgot where, if it's in Belgium or something, but that was really fun to watch. I thought that was super cool.
Oh yeah. Well, and we had actually, I mean, it's still on USPA's rule book, different types of spot landing competitions or of landing competitions. There's the type with a swoop, where the idea is to come down, kick a cone, and then kick successive cones as you go.
Oh, there you go.
And it requires, number one, you'll have an advantage with a faster wing, but to mitigate the advantage of a faster wing, you have another competition, and that is the land and stop. So the idea is you come in and you land on a Frisbee and stop. And the person that has the least amount of forward energy, because in any competition with a bunch of good pilots, they'll all hit the Frisbee. So now the winner is the one who doesn't do any traveling or does the least amount of traveling. So yeah, you hit the Frisbee, but it's not a flyby where you just tap it. You land and stop. So there, the slower wings have an advantage. So maybe some kind of competition that's easy to set up where you don't involve low flying on speed bar. That's where the vast majority of the risk has proven to be.
Interesting. I got a question that maybe I don't know, but how many pilots do you think are in the United States right now? Ballpark. Do you have any idea how many pilots, paramotor pilots, there are?
With a huge margin of error, I would say maybe 5,000. And you got to qualify it too, because there's a lot of gear out there that's sitting in garages, but not a lot of flying. So do you count the guy that trained last year but hasn't flown since he trained? If you say, well, let's count pilots that have flown at least 5 times a year.
Okay.
5 times in the last X number of months. I would say that may still only be around 3,000 to 4,000, because what my observation was that there is an arc of activity. You get into it, and this is true of any activity you get into. You start, you go whole hog, and then it falls off. You don't do it as much. Some of us have these super big climbs and big fall off. Some of us are a super big climb and then they just go nutso for years, and then a slower fall off. And that's kind of been my thing, is I went nutso for years. But now I'm down to a more reasonable level of, once or twice a month. That's because we started a business, and I'm working intently on that. So I don't have as much opportunity to go to fly-ins and things.
Interesting. I never would have thought it was only about 5,000 pilots. I thought that there was going to be more.
Active.
Okay.
If you were to look at the number of people that go through class, and I'm just talking about people who go through a class and then don't fly even 5 times over the next 6 months, I bet that number is pretty high.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to instructors who follow up with their students and find out what that is. Is it like 50%, 70%? I don't know. But then what about it after a year? And then what about the people that get in, they buy it, they go pretty heavily at first, but they got marginal training. And even if they go to a good, reputable school, the weather might have intervened so that the school has every intent to train them thoroughly, but they can only come for 7 days, and it's bad for 5 of it. What do you do if they don't come back? Well, that person is now out there, just like, I won't mention any names, but there were some that they'd basically push you or pull you into the air for 3 times and say, okay, you're on your own now. Huh. That's not a formula for success.
Gotcha. I know that Scuba Steve, he started a year ago, and you have
May of last year, and I've only got 10 flights total. So,
which is May of last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, that's a great example.
I think Will had another question too.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, but Jeremy, this is a really good question. He wants to know what your thoughts are in the US PPA's direction since you left.
I think that NOAA taking over the US PPA is the best thing that's ever happened to the US PPA. You know, I think he's done a great job. You know, he's gotten people to help. He did an immense amount of work on the website, basically opened it up, simplified it. I think it's probably more approachable to more people. It was a little different vision that I had on things like the testing, but I don't think it's worse. It's just different. In fact, I think it might be better. You know, I'm sorry?
I think that was feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So no, I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, he's done a remarkable job, I think. Of course, you did too, Jeff. But I mean, the nice thing is you get to build on your predecessor's strength, work, and it's not like you're starting all from scratch. So,
Right.
yeah, thank you for your efforts for sure.
Oh, I appreciate it. But it's funny. Who do you get to do something? You get someone who's busy because they know how to manage that stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, Noah, he's an author of a very popular book himself, so a number of books, and he does all kinds of things. He teaches, and it's like, okay, let's see how that goes. It's like, whoa, good for you. You go, boy. I've loved it. I've loved watching it.
Yeah, we were lucky to get him on the show too, and he told us all the stuff that he has done. It is incredible how much he has done.
Yes.
But also too, just like, Will said, he's building on a foundation that, Jeff put together. So,
Well, I appreciate it. And of course, obviously I had an immense amount of help. So it was, I didn't build the functional part of the website, and everybody, the instructors helped put the program together. So there was a lot of help.
That's awesome. It is 7:30 right now. We're halfway through the show. Anybody have any questions? I see Jim raising his hand.
Yeah, I was wondering approximately how many people or how many airplanes don't have ADS-B out.
I don't know. I think that's a pretty low number, because if you do not have it, there's a lot of places you can't go. So, and it's pretty cheap to put in your airplane. I mean, if you have an airplane, a $1,200 ADS-B, no problem. You're going to have it, because for the ability of where it's for one thing. Now you can have ADS-B in and see where other people are, but you can have a little more peace of mind knowing that they can see where you are and they'll get an alert. So I've got it in both the airplane and the helicopter. And if traffic gets to within, I think, about a minute of me, within a few hundred feet, I get an alert in my headset. And it tells me traffic 1 o'clock below or above, I think it is. So I'll bet that number is less than 10% now of certified aircraft with electrical systems.
That's really interesting, because Gaggle has, I believe,
Maybe
I've talked with many people that the Gaggle actually tells us where aircraft is. It saved many of people that we've talked to so far. Just recently I was flying and Gaggle said there's a helicopter on your 5 o'clock heading at you at X amount of miles per hour and will be there in 2 minutes. And I was at the same altitude. So I dropped down, waited that, and there it went right in my path and saved me. And I've heard so many other pilots that are using Gaggle the same way. It's actually helped them avoid traffic collisions.
That's awesome. Does it have any audio capability where you can?
Yes.
So it'll tell you traffic.
Yes, it'll actually tell you while you're flying what's going on. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
It tells you what altitude and which way they're coming from. It tells you exactly, aircraft at 3,000 feet coming from your southeast. So it tells you exactly where it's at.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know about that. I will have to get that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've come across a couple crop dusters that were not on it.
Yeah, they won't be on it. And the reason why they won't be on it is because you need to be, in order for you to get it on Gaggle, that airplane needs to be high enough so that the ATC can see its broadcast. So if like when we did our testing, you know, it didn't show up until he got up a few hundred feet. Now it's broadcasting. So if you get close to the pilot, so he would show up actually, but he wouldn't show up to someone else like on gaggle. But if you had an ADS-B receiver, then anybody with an ADS will show up, even if they're not making it into the air traffic system. So yeah, crop dusters and low flying aircraft probably won't be on it. That's true. But you'll know that it would still be nice if they had that, but hopefully they're broadcasting ADS-B, but I'll bet they're not, come to think of it, if they don't need to be. They sometimes do stuff that may be considered a little sketchy.
Gotcha. One thing that we do, Jeff, is that we take a thumbnail, usually halfway in through.
You read my mind.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to do a quick thumbnail and give thumbs up, and that way we'll have a little picture to put up. So ready when you are, Mr. Will?
All right. I'm going to count to 3, okay?
Ready?
Do I need to try and look good? That's a tall
You look
order.
awesome, sir.
You already looked good.
We'll just use your high school picture.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We got it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I
Awesome.
successfully resisted the urge to stick my tongue out.
Yeah, no, you're free, man.
What's up?
There you go. Now Jeff's on the wall of fame
Oh no.
for
I got a
Monday night.
It beats the wall of shame. I've been on that wall before. I have the prop to show it.
Hey,
question.
I got a quick question.
Okay.
When did you decide to be an airline pilot? What made you decide? And when did you become an airline pilot?
I was flight instructing and I wanted to fly more and faster and explore what was out there in aviation. So I don't think there was ever any question in my mind that I would be flying for a living. And that seemed to be about the best job possible. At some point I questioned, well, do I really want to be responsible for all those people? But that was pretty early on. And once I got confident, it's like, yeah, okay, I do. And I was 23 years old when I was flight instructing. And I knew I wanted to either corporate aviation or commercial aviation, and commercial aviation actually came up first. I got a job with a commuter airline in Ohio, flying 19-seater Dornier 228s.
Oh,
And I knew that's like, okay, this is, flying every day. I still like the job. It's really kind of crazy. I just flew yesterday out to San Francisco. Sadly, I did not get to go paragliding at the dumps, but it was beautiful. It was just like, well, if you got to work. Almost every time I do work, I have to say that. It's like, yeah, this isn't a
Jeff, I
bad
got
gig.
a question for you. Say you get trained with an instructor who is not in the US PPA, and you want to get your PPA ratings. What can you do in that case?
You go to a US PPA instructor and have to demonstrate. There's requirements for some maneuvers. Now, and the best thing that you can do for that is look over what are the requirements for the ratings. Like, for example, the big requirement for the PPG 3. I mean, the 2 is essentially you can launch and fly reliably on your own. That's the 2. If you can reliably launch in no wind, and so you're doing no wind inflations, and you can do reverses, and you can reliably land on your feet within, I think is it 100 feet? And then there's another one at 25 feet, something like, I forget now. But if you can reliably do that, all you need to do is go demonstrate it to an instructor. But what I used to say was, and I did some ratings clinics, if you can reliably land within the PPG 3 circle, if you can reliably land within that circle, and you can reliably launch in no wind, you'll get your rating at this 3-day clinic. So the PPG 3 rating requires you to be able to reliably land power off from 300 feet in, I think, 15 feet. That is harder than it sounds.
So it's
A
not
lot.
like you have to go pay another $2,000, $3,000 to do training all over again. You can pay for this clinic and then
Right.
just go, okay.
Yeah, that's what I did, and it was fun. You know, it's another reason you get together. You go over the ground school during non-flyable times, midday. Just say no to ground school if it's flyable air. You need to be out flying. But so we would, and that's what I, when people were getting ready to go to the ratings clinic, when I advertised, I said, this is what you can expect. That if you can do these things, namely the landing. So if you can go out and reliably do these landings, whether it was the 2 or the 3, then you'll get the rating at this clinic, because I can show you, I can teach you how to do some of the other things. Like the PPG 3, if you can reliably do that landing, you can almost certainly reliably do level flight at 3 feet or do a foot drag. A foot drag, to be done in light turbulence, requires a fair amount of skill. It's a good determining point. That's why I think it's chapter 15. We talk about the skills and how you can know when you're there, and that tells you whether or not it's safe to advance. So if you can reliably do a foot drag in light turbulence, you've got energy management down pretty well. If you can reliably land in 15 feet power off from 300 feet, you've got energy management down. So that's why I always use that as the judgment. It's also one of the more risky maneuvers for people who are not quite there yet to push it, because you wind up saying, oh, I'm high, I'm going to pull more brake. And the next thing you know, the wing is falling back. So you got to be careful. But I think that course, we only charged probably $150. So
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's way less than I thought it was going to be. Okay.
Yeah.
Chapter 15 is advanced ground handling, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, you'd think I would have that all memorized by now, right?
Right?
But I have the copy right here. Oh, you can't see it because of the anyway. There we go. Anyway, yeah, that whole section is all about more advanced topics, advanced flying.
Oh.
So part of what it does is tells you how to know you've arrived at a skill. So it gives you something to shoot for. It's like, okay, yeah, I got that. I can move on.
Excellent. We got 20 minutes until Jeff has to go. So any questions in the super chat, any questions on the panel before we continue?
I have a question.
Okay.
I would really like to know more about reaction simulation.
Well, I won't take up too much time on it because this is about paramotor, but reaction simulation is the realization that we can do a lot more with the equipment that pilots already have and with low cost equipment. I wrote the flight dynamics for Rob Caddo's Powered Paraglider Simulator, and that showed me what was possible with a certain amount of expertise. And then the MAX accidents happened, Boeing MAX accidents, 2 of them, and it looked like we were going to get trained with nothing more than slideshows and videos. And when I saw that, the switch flipped in my brain. It's like, Jeff, you are in a position to do something about this. And that is when reaction simulation started. So I hired an extraordinarily capable programmer, and him and I have created this application that runs both on an iPad and on virtual reality headsets that does self-guided training for airline pilots for both their cockpit flows and for emergency situations. We're a small team, but we're very nimble and we can get a lot done in short order. So we've had 2 contracts. One's a military related contract. The other is for the University of Central Florida. and we're trying to get on to the airlines. We're talking with 3 airlines, but we just have to wait. It's a long, drawn out process. Airlines are big ships with tiny rudders.
I can see it carrying over to the paramotor world, though. Like where you're talking about the VR headset, with their we're doing a bad apples. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Was it up there at Bad Apples?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, that's version 2 of the flight code. That's much better.
Yeah. Well, now I'm not talking about the reaction. You're talking about the VR,
the VR that Rob had. I wrote version 1 a number of years ago, 2015. And then he had been bugging me about some limitations that it had. And when the Max accidents happened, I actually used that as a excuse to write version 2 with the idea of this is going to be turned into a Boeing. So the funny thing about my development version of that was that it was a paramotor simulator with Boeing instruments. So
interesting.
That looked kind of funny, but it was fun. And now, of course, his simulator it's really awesome.
Yeah, he even has the spray, like when you're going over water or whatever.
Yeah. Water. I don't remember that. I know the airflow, but I don't remember the water.
Yeah, I think there was some water involved there. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
It's
high-tech spray bottles.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is sort of the same thing that hit me in paramotor. In 2001, by 2001, I was seeing some accidents and there was some, let's just say, some sketchy information out there that was not really based on evidence. And it became clear we needed some better materials. We needed some training standards, some better materials. And, I went to, I didn't want to write a book. I was perfectly happy. I had just gotten out of software in 97. I was loving life, flying my brains off, and I was completely happy to do that. But I wasn't so happy about, some of the things I saw going on. It's like, well, I know how we can make this safer. We do it in commercial aviation. Let's apply some of that same technique here. So yeah, I went to Dennis Pagan. He was a well-known author, is a well-known author. And he made that fateful reply of, well, I asked him, hey, I heard you were writing a PPG book. Where is it? We need it. And he made that fateful reply, well, I decided not to, but if you write it, I'll publish it.
That's nice.
That's not what I had in mind. But I actually just talked to Dennis today. I'm really thankful for it. It was it's been a wonderful run. Very rewarding.
Now, I know that you said in the past that you had some digital versions that you were going to put out for your PPG Bible. Was there any audio book in the mix?
It's funny about the audio book. I started that project and then I decided not to finish it. An audio book is an immense amount of time. So I actually recorded most of the book. And then by the time I got that done, edition 7 was coming up. Well, you got to re-record the whole thing. And when you record, I don't know how other people do it, but I imagine, and I have talked to a couple people who've done it, you don't just read it. You read it and you read it again and again, and you read that same paragraph again until you get it right. So now you have that paragraph 5 times. Well, guess what? You got to go back and edit it.
That's a lot of work, man.
It is so time consuming.
Just do it right the first time.
Yeah, how about it, right? If only I were that good. We know better than that. So no, I mean, here, let's take a sample. The other thing that I observed, and so the audiobook would not be exactly like the written book because it doesn't always flow as well. A few little changes makes it flow much better sometimes. Because You don't have the picture in front of you. When do people listen to audiobooks? They're either
Usually when
out
they're
riding,
driving,
driving, or doing something.
right?
So even if you do include the images, which you would,
Right.
you're going to be trying to ingest all that information from just the audio. So you need to make some changes.
That'd be a cool audio book to listen to on an airplane while I'm flying somewhere. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So here, let me do a little sample.
Okay.
And we're going to find out, because I'm completely unprepared for this, right?
Right.
So I say that so that any amount of suckage, which will now be recorded for all posterity, will have an excuse. Remember, it's not how good you are, it's how good your excuses are.
I love it.
Here comes the Barry
All right.
White voice on the audiobook.
I just happened to open to the last page of chapter 8. So it's not going to be terribly compelling because it's law. Understanding the law. Courts and reality. Our freedom is a double-edged sword that can cut deeply. The problem with going to court over a local violation is that you pay out of your pocket. They pay out of everybody else's pocket. Congested. When one PPG pilot ran afoul of local law, police contacted FAA officials. The case went all the way to trial, and FAA lawyers used prior rulings to prosecute the pilot. See, that was a re-recorded, wasn't it? Even though those judgments weren't directly about 103, they did include a reference to congested. The pilot was fined over $1,000 and had to pay for his legal fees. There is, unfortunately, little recourse in such cases, and one avenue, the National Transportation Safety Board, is not likely to help. So that first paragraph, that's a re-record. I would have just, the sentence, I would have just started over and said it again. And I made some changes on the fly because it referred to an illustration it left, which of course the listener won't have. So anyway, that's the long story of why the audiobook is not likely. The other thing is that the percentage of people that would buy the audiobook is really small because it's a visual thing. And that's why the book is structured the way it is. You'll notice that most of these types of books start off with aerodynamics and law and all that. Well, I don't get into any of that until chapter 7. Chapters 1 through 6 chapter 1 is dedicated to here's why you need an instructor, why you're a lot likely to save your ass if you get an instructor instead of trying to learn this through the book or through videos or whatever. But then chapters 2 through 6 are all about learning the equipment and flying. I mean, think about it. You want to learn windsurfing. You go find a book on windsurfing. It doesn't go into hydrodynamics, does it? Now, I go into that in gory detail because it's a fascinating topic to me. We have such weird aerodynamics. But, I wanted to make it real practical. So I don't think there would be much in the way of sales, the time, etc. That was the long answer. Sorry, I used up so much of the time for that.
No, it's your time. This is your show. You can talk about whatever you want to, my friend. And it's very interesting too. Didn't even think about that as far as the audio book. As far as the digital book, you can have the a PDF digital book or something that we can.
Oh yeah, that's been available for a few years.
Okay.
So
So
if you go to
I know the last time we talked was 3 years ago, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
you were getting into doing that, and I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's up on footflyer.com. You can download it.
Excellent. Hey, since you talked about footflyer.com, can you tell us more about your website, what you have available? We love all the videos that you have available. Can you tell people what we can find on Footflyer?
Well, there's the sales information, but there's also a bunch of supplemental information that could not be fit into the book. Things about, like we talked a little bit about airspace there, and there are some examples of different types of airspace and some of the details, how you can find out examples of some legal situations I just referred to in there that I have on Footflyer. So it's organized by chapter in the book. I mean, there's the majority of the website is organized by chapter. So if you want to see stories about various places where you can fly and ways that you can find out whether it's legal to fly, then you go to the chapter on airspace, chapter 9. And or you want to see, is there any other information about aerodynamics? I've got some stuff on aerodynamics, like, for example, about why you want to be in a beginner wing as a beginner. There's surprisingly good reason for that. And I've got some detail that is not in the book on it. And the Master Powered Paragliding DVDs, they have advanced animations because it's a moving animation can tell so much of many of these stories, like about torque. And I have more detail on the chapter that includes the aerodynamic, the motor, the torque. There is a lot on that subject. I wish some paramotor manufacturers would have consulted that before they built their motor, because frequently, when I was trying motors, it's like, oh yeah, this one solves the torque. It's like, okay, yeah, heard that before. And my test is really simple. I'm a lightweight guy. If I can go up there and just squeeze off full throttle smoothly and not spin around, well, you've succeeded if it's a powerful motor. And I think there's 2 motors that I've ever flown where I could do that. And on one of them, it was so powerful, I wasn't willing to, because my angle got so steep that I was worried I was into unknown aerodynamics. It's like at some point, the wing is going to lose and it's just going to fall back. I don't want to be that guinea pig. So the DVD series, it talks about the concepts that you'll need to learn in competition, or just any precision flight. That DVD 3 is all about precision flying. 1 is a gazillion things about handling the wing, and there's the animations to understand it and the examples of some extraordinarily good wing handlers. Bill Heener was basically the star of that show. And chapter 2 is all about launching. It's amazing where you can launch these things if you have certain techniques down, namely the ability to steer your launch, but a few other things about launching on roads, confined spaces, and so forth. And the video goes into that with animations and examples. Then the chapter 4 is all about landing and different conditions, different considerations. Eric DeFore is the star of that. He is still the best spot lander I have ever seen. And, we have been great friends for a long time. He was the first one I saw in Albuquerque in 1999 after I'd been flying for 6 months, flying my brains out. And I harbored the delusion that I was pretty good. So I'm out in Albuquerque and I'm watching, and this guy lands on a tire. Now, he didn't just land on the tire. He stopped and kited the wing on the tire. It's like, oh, look at that. I wonder if I can do that. And so I went down, and of course I couldn't do it. I sucked. I had to run off on the tire. Couldn't even come close. It's like, what the blooming blazes is this guy? And so anyway, I gained a lot of respect for him, and we competed against each other. He proceeded to beat me all the time. That's fine. And the thing that he did better than anyone I've ever seen is the spot landing. So he was giving me grief along, because as we were producing these things. So when am I going to be in one of these? Oh, I got a place for you, son. He's
hang
good
gliders,
at everything, but
did power hang gliders come out way before powered paramotors? I mean, because I remember when I was playing Little League, I saw somebody flying, and I was like, I want to do that someday. But I think they were on a powered ultralight, not a
yeah. Yeah, powered ultralights. I remember in 1985, I was flight instructing, and someone asked me to come fly their ultralight, or to observe them in a gyrocopter. As a certified flight instructor, I was allowed to sign them off as observed flights. And so I did that. And one guy said, well, I can either pay you or I can let you fly my ultralight. Like, ooh. Well, that's really easy. What do I need to know about this thing? And let's go. So I did, and I fell in love with it. But so, yeah, those were around, I think, before powered paragliders, but not by a lot. Mike Burns was flying a powered paraglider. He was one of the first. the first one that I had verified information on in 1987. But foot launching, that was sketchy in 1987 because the weight of the motors was too high and the wing efficiency was too low. But the wheels, the powered parachutes, they were a thing a few years before. So yeah, they were earlier, but not by a lot of years, because really ultralights didn't come into being until really, I think, the early 80s when they started putting motors.
That's when I saw it. It had to be the early 80s. That's when I was in
Yeah.
league. So
Yeah. And they were just beginning then. So by 1987, someone was foot launching. And then, it just grew from there.
nice.
Interesting. What size motors did they have back in the 80s as far as your foot launching, and how much did they weigh? Were they 2-strokes also?
They were 2-strokes. They were all 2-strokes. I remember there was one that, am I remembering it was a three-cylinder Koenig? Does that ring a bell?
Good Lord.
Yeah. And you started it by wrapping a rope around the front of it and then pulling the rope off of the machine, hoping it did not tangle in the prop. I don't know if I flew that or not, but I did see it run and be started.
Wow.
So yeah, they were heavy. I would say. And then there was the oh my goodness, what's that one with the heavy cage? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
My buddy flies a 4-cycle. That thing is heavy.
I've flown I've flown 2 4-cycles. Yeah, and they were pretty heavy. The Bailey machine is not as heavy as some of them, but and it's made for foot launching.
Yeah.
I got one question real quick as far as the olden days. When did we start going really from ground starting to back or rack? When was that, and what was the cause of? Obviously we know what the cause was, but why did we go from ground starting, moving the propeller to start it, to back or rack? Do you remember that by any chance?
It's gradual, and there's still plenty of people that start on the ground. There's ways to start on the ground that mitigate the risk, but obviously there's the problems that we know about, and that's why the change is, I think, those of us that were involved, which is pretty much anybody who simply looks at the forums and looks at the accidents and looks at the carnage done by ground starting. That's all that anybody needed. It's like, well, your biggest chance of an injury in this sport is getting eat up by that prop. Do you really want to expose yourself to that? And right. Instructors probably got tired of having students get chewed up, and so I think it was just a gradual realization that this is the number one way to get maimed. Let's not go there.
Right. I think it's a lot of the pull systems too, instead of like the old ones that were trying to start like a lawnmower. Now you just barely pull them, and with that spring load, it just starts them up so easy. I think that's one of the reasons why we went from, trying to pull like it's a lawnmower to a little brap, and it starts up. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of times those motors don't start up real easily. And that's probably when they are the riskiest, is if that doesn't go well. Now you got to troubleshoot. And I know of some accidents of some really experienced pilots where that was the case. And every now and then you'll hear about somebody starting without a cage. It's like, oh my.
So we went from the number one cause of paramotor pilots dying, drowning, to now it should be low acro. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know. Let's put it this way. If you fly over water without an agama or similar style of flotation device, that still happens. People are still drowning, but we've got the mitigation in place. So all we need to do, I think of risk as like shopping. It's like, what do I want to put in my cart on this outing? Do I want to put a bag of ground start in there? Do I want to put a bag of drowning in there? Or maybe 2 bags, because I'm going to put 2 or 3 bags of drowning because I don't have an agama, and I'm going to go do a foot drag in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's put 3 bags of risk for drowning. Low maneuvering. It's a big one. You're right. I don't know what the statistics now suggest. But because people are so aware of the drowning, they avoid that. It seems like people, have an Agama or power float or something like that. So that does seem to have decreased a lot. But low acro or just low altitude maneuvering. Weirdly, power lines aren't often fatal, but anytime you're below power line level, your risk of that is obviously there, where if you're up high, it's not. And then we all fly, I wouldn't say we all, but a lot of us, me included, do fly down there. And I don't care if I know the area. I'm at risk because I might forget where that wire is. We've got some areas out here where, I've flown the area a lot, but you can get into, if you fly with music, you get into your songs, like, you're going back and forth, having a good old time, and you just forget that, this is the field with the wires in it. Oops. So if you're down low, you're at wire risk. I don't care about familiarity. I remember a friend of mine, we've flown this road a number of times. He just forgot about the wire. It's like, I knew that wire was there, but I just forgot about it. I was having a good time and that wire wasn't on my mind. Well, at least not until I hit it. So the other risky area is training. Training was, that's a big risk. I think maybe we've mitigated it, but that was why I wrote the instructor book.
Yeah.
Paraglider and paramotor instructor was, again, in 2015, there were a couple of fatal accidents that happened to a pilot on radio, and the switch flipped in my head. It's like, we're not going to sell any of these things, but I'm going to write it. Dang it. And
I got it. It's a good book.
Oh, thank you. Good
book.
I think the number one, I still say the number one reason for fatalities, non-training related, is poor decision making. To step it back to what the root cause. And
well, and I think that
how much they talk about aeronautical decision making, and
it's a big deal. You're absolutely right. It's just so broad that it's a little hard to get your head around. Mm-hmm. So that's why in chapter 19, there's that it's like a set of knobs that talks about choosing your risk. And aeronautical decision making is what takes place for you to choose those scenarios. So do you let yourself get into it? Do you recognize that, okay, I'm having a hard time starting this motor? And I say this because this happens to me on a regular basis. We all have this. I have a hard time starting this motor, but I'm out at the field. I've driven 4 hours in the dark to get here. It's calm. And I'm going to try to start this motor, even though I'm out on the field. And I took it off my back, off of the rack. I walked out. It's stopped. I can't start it on my back. I'm going to set it down in front of me. And I have some mitigations that I do at the hangar. I can't even do that. Mm-hmm. What do? Chances are you're going to start that thing on the ground. And you got to say, I just dropped a bag of MAME into that cart. That's aeronautical decision-making, or any kind of decision-making, risk assessment. And that's where, okay, is it worth the risk? When somebody asked me, do you want to go for a skydive? Well, skydiving, that's another thing on footflyer.com. I put an assessment of the risks, and I try to be very objective. Here's where my sources were. You can go do the math and see what you think. I don't have any skin in the game. I do all of these things. All of the things that I put in there, I had done. And skydive was about 4 paramotor flights. The same risk as 4 paramotor flights. Is that worth it? It's not for me to make that call. I mean, when it was me, yeah, it was. But that's why I try not in any of our stuff, I don't say, don't do this or that. Just here's what the risk is. The risk is really high in these activities. Now make your own decision.
Exactly. And he has a lot of amazing videos. Make sure you go over to Footflyer. I got them all. Watch them. They are amazing. They really help you understand different things.
I need that risk versus reward video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got you. Go to Foot Flyer. You it's awesome. I think that we have one last question for you before we go. Will Fly, what was that question?
Jeremy, man, he's killing it tonight. He says, ask Jeff about the Discovery Channel feature on Fan Man, and he wants to know if you really landed in the ring the first try.
That was really cool. I like that.
Well, there was a show called Sports Science a number of years ago, and they had me on the show, and I landed in the boxing ring. But there's quite a story there that we'll have to wait for another time. But yes, he really did land in the boxing ring. He was powered up until the last part. He landed just short of the, he landed basically in the ropes. So this is where I learned that reality TV, not as reality as we'd like to think. Save that for another show.
Absolutely. Jeff, it's a little bit after 8 o'clock. We definitely appreciate your time on the show. Thank you so much. We know that you're extremely busy. Once again,
my pleasure.
Tell us about your website, Foot Flyer, and what we can do as far as what we can buy there to help support you and your cause.
Sure. It's footflyer.com. It's everything paramotor and more. The video series, Master Powered Paragliding, and the books, including Dennis Pagan's book. So yeah, appreciate it. It's been fun.
Well, thank you very much.
Jeff.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you so much.
Very informative, which, your books speak for themselves, I think. So.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you, Jeff, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to come on.
No problem.
Join us
No
on
problem.
the show. I so appreciate it. And
Yep.
I always learn stuff every time. So this was
I always learn something too. Frequently, it's what I don't know, but that's okay.
That's a good thing, though.
That's
Jeff,
cool.
thank you again, my friend. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening.
Okay. All right. You too.
All righty.
Thank you.
Man, that was Jeff Goin. And if you don't know Jeff Goin, now you do. He's the one that writes the PPG Bible book. If you haven't done so already, check that out. And he also has a great series, a great DVD series. I wonder if he has it on thumb drive yet, because who has DVD drives anymore? Hey, guess what I do? Because I'm old. I got a VHS, I got Betamax, and some 8-tracks. So you know me, I'm really old school.
8-track. Damn, John.
8-tracks. Man, that gray hair is coming in fast now.
My first car had an 8-track player. That's how old I am. Yeah,
I know, right?
And remember when we went from 8-track to cassette? You can put that little cassette thing in your 8-track, and now you can play cassettes. Remember that conversion? That was so cool. I know.
Well, but I could still never figure out how to rewind. It's like you had to put it in one way and push rewind, and it meant fast forward. I could never figure that out.
I know, right?
That was with cassettes. On 8-track, you had to fast forward all the way back around.
Yeah.
Damn that.
Cassettes.
What about like the little remember when the tape recorders came out? Talk about
I know, that was so cool. Hey, we can actually tape our voice. Wait a minute, do I really sound like that? No.
Oh my God, we had more fun. Who's all? Can I ask real quick? Who's all in the chat tonight? So, because I always say hi to all my chatters.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and
Really,
Will, can you look back by any chance?
Appreciate it.
And so we got Kramer. Kramer, by the way, was our number one, our very first thumbs up tonight. Thank you, Kramer.
Ooh, thank you, Kramer. Appreciate that.
Love.
We got Sean Simons, aka PPG Grandpa. John Wayne's in the house. Scuba, 2 feet and a heartbeat. What's up? Bill H, Cliffy V, and Butch Fly. What's going on? The other Nick. What's up, Nick?
Hey.
Jeremy. Going on. And hey, I did want to give them a shout out. The US PPA, and I should have done it earlier, but they really made a big difference, with their representation at the fly-ins this year.
Yes.
That was just absolutely awesome.
They are
Kenneth
awesome.
Kidwell, what's going on, my man? Greg Laney, Nick J, and did I say Bill H? I think I did. Deweese Milstead, Steve Kennedy. Dude, lots of people. Tony Marzano, what's going on? Angela, who's in the house, Angela Preslick.
I think she skipped out from us and went to go watch the Packers.
She did, but she can't say
The games that starting out very exciting.
We can't compete against the Packers, so I'm just glad that anybody's here at all.
Wait, I have to yell this out to Angela real quick. Go Lions! Woo woo!
All right. So Walter Priori, tomorrow's coming, Sean.
Yay, tomorrow.
And- Yay, tomorrow.
Walter's in the house.
Yes, he is.
My sugar.
What's up, Walter?
Kramer, y'all let me know if I missed someone now. I'm still looking.
Okay.
Munchkin's in the house.
Yeah, Munchkin's
Hey,
here.
what's going on?
She's babysitting.
Munchkin. Kevin's in the house, but he's actually here instead of on the, out there.
What's up, Kevin?
Hey,
I said Steve Kennedy, Flying Flamingo,
what's up, Jade?
Love you,
and
Jay.
Y'all need to order some stuff from Jim because look, he's out hard delivering printing supplies right now.
well, yeah. The hard. Oh, Chris Lockley, what's going on, man?
What's up, Chris? If you guys don't know Chris, a big shout out to Chris. He has helped us so much with our nonprofit organization.
That's awesome.
He has helped us with building our school. He's helped us with putting in electricity, with water, given us a lot of his time, helped us with land. Without him, right now, Run to the Sky would not exist. So big shout out to Chris Lockley. Thank you very much.
Yay.
I
Yeah.
want to know about Kevin, the guy that's like hidden in the background right now. I want to know more about how he's coming along. Just saying. I mean, he's kind of hid back there, hasn't said a word the entire show. I think he needs to, speak up.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Go ahead and finish
Okay.
up, Bill.
Okay, we
All
go.
right. Plainfield PPG, I got your back. Let's see.
Uh-oh.
I do
You're up.
believe I got everyone. So if not, let me know. We'll give you a shout out on the show. Back to
All
you.
right. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wait,
Come on.
Roger Smith. Munchkin, I already said, but yeah, Roger Smith.
Much love, much love.
All right. If you guys don't know, Kevin is from Mississippi. He's coming over to Paramotor, Arkansas. Long drive. He's here for a couple of days this time. And today he did a power taxi with the wing above his head. Man, tell us a little bit about that. How'd that feel?
It was exhilarating. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Turning around's not too bad, but trying to set the wing down, little tough. Still trying to get the swing of that. But
Yeah, but if you got the powered taxi down, you're like right there. You're like right there.
Scuba knows,
Next
man.
is in the
Tell us,
air.
Scuba.
You'll get the landing and laying the wing down. Sean does a great job. I know he's going to teach you good, so that's all that matters.
Yep. So tomorrow morning we might be taxiing with a wing that's flyable.
I got butt.
And he might be
Video or
me.
it didn't happen.
on
Video.
to go.
That's like me when I get ready to jump in a tandem. I'm like,
I
"Oh."
love seeing first flights. I mean, it's just like the best thing. Or just watching somebody take their first flight and seeing their joy when they land. Just like you can't put anything, above it. It's just amazing.
Look at me. I'm already jumping in my chair. I get just when you start talking about it, I get all crazy.
Poor
Yes.
guy. The whole world's going to be watching.
yes, sorry.
The whole world is watching. Is he gonna sit too soon? Is he gonna butt land? Will he turtle? Tune in tomorrow and find out.
Yeah, if I could say anything, when you go to take off, do not succumb to the preference to jump in your seat. Do not get in your seat. It's going to feel like everything's lifting off you and you want to jump in your seat. Don't do it. Wait until you're in the air. wait
Just keep
until
running,
you're,
run into the sky.
yeah, wait
Run
until you're at
into
least
the
10 feet in the
sky.
air, then get in your seat
There's
because
a whole nonprofit designed and talking all about run into the sky, do not sit too early.
there
You,
you
you,
go.
didn't, you didn't realize that was the name of the school originally was run to the sky, do not sit too early. But we're like, let's shorten up a little bit.
There we go.
Hey, Chris
Shout out
Bahama,
to
how you
Northern
doing,
Light
man?
Paramotor LLC. Shout out. That's why behind me. Yeah.
So did you get Chris Bahama? I hope I'm saying his name right.
Did I get him? What?
Yeah. Yeah, another person just showed up there.
Oh,
I
shout
missed
out.
Oh,
Excellent.
there we go.
All
What a
right.
great guest, man. I
That
was like,
was
Jeff Goin. Oh my goodness.
Awesome. That
I
was
have a
awesome.
feeling you could spend like 5 hours with that guy.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, he is so funny too. I mean, if you've watched his videos, his DVDs on everything that he does, everything from airspace, let me tell you, if you want to learn airspace, get the airspace video from Jeff Goin over at Foot Flyer. Absolutely the best. Not only is it airspace, but he talks about all of our FAR 103s, talks about the rules and regulations, talks about the big fluffy clouds, how far do we need to stay away from it, all sorts of things. I mean, it's really done quite well. The mastering series 1, 2, 3, and 4, I got them all. Very, very, very awesome. You must get it. If you are planning on mastering paramotoring, but not even become an instructor, get the paramotor instructor book too, because it really goes into some really amazing detail that maybe you didn't even know about that you didn't even know about. So, how much do you want to learn about paramotoring?
I don't know if I could ever do the instructor thing. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that I'm the one responsible, to make sure they get the proper training to not die. Yeah, that's a big
I
responsibility.
could see you on the radio.
Yeah.
Well,
it's-
okay, that's a good thing to talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. Butch, you came to me.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Because you did this for a living. You didn't do it on the weekends as a side job. And I did a lot of background checking, and you didn't have a bunch of obituaries on your student list.
Okay.
Obituaries.
You
Oh my
had
goodness.
none.
One way to
How
put
did
it.
they get in here,
Yeah.
man? I
Didn't know
cannot
about
ban
that
them.
one. Okay,
And
that's
a
interesting.
lot of the other ones, they have obituaries behind their names. And Sean doesn't have any obituaries behind his name.
There you
Okay,
go.
and how about as far as my safety and my safety protocols?
That little checklist, man, it's 12 to 15 seconds to save your life, and it's already saved me 3 times. When I first started doing that checklist, I'm like, oh man, a good thing I did the checklist,
Yeah, a
Or
lot of
I would-
people don't do their pre-flights. If you don't do your
No.
pre-flight, man, you're like asking for it.
I've seen other people come over to where we are and didn't even kite their wing before they flew. They just laid it out, just woo woo. Man, that's no
Wow.
way I could do that.
Yeah.
know?
Okay,
that's a
so
little
so
risky.
safety is a big
Safety is
priority.
paramount over here.
100% safety is paramount. We could, like we said, we could get you in the air a lot sooner.
Yeah.
However, if you're able to and want to, the safety on this thing is definitely paramount. How about you? What do you think as far as safety is concerned? Do we talk about safety at all, or is it just go ahead and get you up in the air and get you out of here?
Talk about safety all the time.
All the time. What are some of the safety things that we talk about all the time, though?
Check and double check your pre-flight.
Mhm.
Everything.
Yes.
Everything is always
Check your
checked,
weather,
double check.
Check your lines, check your engine, check everything. Not once, but twice. I
Mhm.
check it before I strap in, and I do a checklist after I strap in, and then I'll do another after I start the motor.
The good thing about all of that is because when you learn that way, it gets embedded in your brain
Right.
and you do that procedure every
Every time.
time before you take off.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're like, well, I remember somebody used to. No, that's not what you want. If you're taught that way, you're going to remember that. And that's the way you're going to do it in the future, which is probably going to save you from a bad accident in the future.
Already
Okay, so-
had. My
all right,
first
yeah, so-
week here, I woke up having nightmares. Doors are shut and locked. The trims are set and even. Run.
So I guess the question is, if you guys are still listening, or if you're listening later on and you are a pilot, what kind of checklist do you do? One of the things that we do that, of course, this is not the only checklist. This is the main checklist that we drill into everyone's heads, right? After they clip in, leg, chest, chin, right? You go back and you double check your leg, your chest, your chin, right? After you buckle in, and there's a certain way of buckling in each time, and we're not going to go over that real quick. But once you clip in to do a forward or reverse, Butch, what's the first thing you check?
The doors are shut and locked. The trims are set and even. The streets are straight, and the brakes are free and clear to the pulley. The tip steering is where it needs to be.
Right, if you have tip steering, obviously.
See,
You
it's
have the-
memorized. See how Butch just rolled that off? It's memorized. It's in his brain,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is awesome.
Exactly. And, when you go out to fly-ins and you meet up with other pilots and you watch them clip in and go fly, we went over to EFD and we watched numerous pilots take off with a cravat, never looked up at the wingtip, and just kept on going with a big cravat.
Wow.
I got one on video. I'm like, they never even looked. They just kept on flying with a big old cravat. Never looked up. And what do we teach you guys? Look at your wingtips. Look at your wingtips. Look at your wingtips.
Make sure you're centered under that wing.
Right. So it's very important. I mean, I've seen a lot of issues, and when I try to incorporate alleviating the issues in the training when we are over here learning this stuff, because once you learn it and it's just part of you, when you clip in, it's just doors are shut and locked, trims are set and even, streets are straight, the brake tips or the tip steering is on the magnet, free and clear to pulley on both sides, your streets are straight and your brakes are free and clear to pulley. The brakes are free and clear to pulley have to be the number one thing right next to the doors are shut and locked. How many videos or pictures have you seen where the carabiner is halfway off? How many times have you seen somebody with a brake wrap, and they're up there trying to fix it because it's all wrapped around their line? They didn't make sure it's free and clear to pulley before they took off. So
if you take off and your brake is tangled, that is very dangerous, because what'll happen is you'll pull your brake and it won't release because it's tangled. So then you're stuck in a hard, whatever, right turn, and you're going to spiral down to the ground. So that's very important. Even after you take off, you want to check both risers and your brakes and everything. Make sure that those are clear, and look down at your carabiners to make sure those are up and straight. You don't want anything cockeyed or crooked or anything like that. Land immediately.
Right. All right. Real quick, Butch, on launching, there's 3 steps to launching. What are they?
Pressure, power, and
No.
power. Is that what it is?
No,
Oh,
taking off to launching.
Oh, hang on, man.
I
The
got you.
inflation, taxi, and commit. I'm sorry.
Okay. Right. Inflation, taxi, commit. Sorry, I put you on the spot. Sorry about that, but you're right about power, pressure, and you're right. So there's 3 steps to inflating or to launching. You inflate, that's step 1. You're taxiing. During the taxi phase, you're looking at the carabiner all the way up to the tips, right? Making sure all the lines are good. You can taxi for a very long time with proper technique, which is what Butch just said, as far as posture, pressure, and power, right? So that's another thing that we talk about too. And then once we look and make sure everything's good, we give it the power and we commit to it. When we land, there's 3 steps to landing. Do you know what the 3 steps are?
Where your feet touch, where your feet end up, and where you lay your wing out.
Exactly. So it's a big triangle. So when you come in for landing, you actually look down and go, okay, my feet are going to touch there. I'm going to end up there in a reverse, and my wing's going to be laid out right there. So it's a big triangle. So that's how we teach that also. because, you know, you don't just half whatever going down for a landing. You want to make sure that you are directly into the wind, you don't drift, and you know exactly where your feet are going to touch, where they're going to end, and where the wing's going to land. Because if you think about this, if you go to a fly-in, it's not just where your feet touch, where are you going to end up, and where's that wing going to go? How many times have we seen at a fly-in where a wing just drapes over a bunch of people or a tent or cars, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not looking at that future of where that wing's going to go. So even though that's obviously something that we think about, but we never think about it unless it's taught to you.
Not on the leading edge.
That's going to be a t-shirt.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, Butch
let-
is going to be the next, like, you'll be the next spokesman for the sport. And then maybe in the next few months, you know, we'll have to have you as a guest again on the show, so you can talk about how you, how, you know, you're flying, how you're progressing, and because you are doing so awesome. I mean, you've come so far in such a short time, and
Well,
I think
thank
you'd be real good
Butch
inspiration.
is a trike boy now.
Yeah,
He
actually,
foot
I've been doing
launches,
foot launching
foot
here
launches and
lately.
trikes, but he
Yeah.
also is now a test.
Yeah, I'm a
pilot.
test dummy.
No,
Uh-oh.
test pilot. Come on, say it right. Test pilot.
Dummy. No.
We don't want to be a dummy.
No,
Oh,
I'm
for
a
the quad, right?
test pilot. Yeah, I can't
Okay,
wait.
gotcha. Yeah.
We got the
Oh.
parts in.
Those seem interesting. I'm just worried about the quad if it lands a little crooked, just swerving really hard because it's a four wheel. I don't know, or flipping over easier, but it's wider, so you would think it would have better stability. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
luckily I've worked on my skills with that trike. I'm think I'm pretty good at going in a straight line now. I haven't been sliding around lately. I've been doing the straight line thing.
Cool.
It's a lot harder than it looks, huh?
Right.
Like when you
yeah.
Butch, when you first got in there and everything, right? And watching everybody else, you're probably like, oh, that looks easy. But then
Yeah.
once you're sitting down and you're doing that, right? You're like, yeah, I can just imagine it just, you know.
Everything looks easy until you try it yourself. Will, were you trying to say something, buddy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Lift Paramotor brings up a good point. It says it's not good enough just to say it. You got to touch it. And if we're talking about the checklist, and that's right, because I've done it. I found myself doing it, which is why I started doing the same checklist 3 times, and in particular the chest, the leg, chest, chin, but actually touching what I'm speaking, because you'll find if you get like into a rhythm, you just might say the words, but you might not have done the action. And so
I
the
don't
other
know how many times I've clicked my leg buckles and then pulled it and the buckle pop out.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So on my third check, that's what I was going to say. On my third
Right.
check,
Right.
on my third check, as I'm walking out, I'll do the final leg, chest, chin, but I actually lift each leg up and put some pressure against it if I can, and just to make sure that sucker, because I have had that.
Yeah, they'll pop. You'll think they're connected, and then you pull it, and it pops loose, and you're like, "What the hell?" And then you click it again, then you yank. Like, okay, now it's connected. So yeah, that's real important.
Yeah, like the other one, the doors are shot and locked. You actually feel the carabiners. You can slide down to the trims are set and even. Then you reach out and grab the brakes and pull them up. The streets are straight. The brakes are free and clear to the pulley.
Which
Right.
reminds
And then
me,
your
my trims are
your
out.
solo has the tip steering. So you add the one more
Check the
checking
step
tip
steering
steering.
before you even break the brakes off.
Right. Because you mostly use the A wing that doesn't have the tip
I'm
steering.
still using the A, but I go back.
There ain't nothing wrong with a wing. I fly a wing.
No, I love flying that A wing because I just love it.
I enjoy flying the A wing too.
It probably saved me from dying on that flight at that fly-in because I took a couple of nice collapses on the side of my wing when I was landing because the wind was ridiculous. So it kept me from dying that day. So I'm glad I had an A-wing.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
So, real quick, just for fun, what's your checklist, Steve, as far as buckling in and getting ready to go for a flight? What do you do?
As far as buckling in, well, I do the same thing. Leg, chest, chin. I make sure all that's right. I make sure none of my radio equipment or anything has any wires in the way, or it's not behind any buckles. But as far as the streets, I do all that also.
Okay, so once you clip in, go ahead and do your checklist from your carabiners. How do you do it?
From my carabiners, well, first I make sure the carabiners are locked. I make sure they're not twisted or anything. Then I make sure my streets are straight and my trims are set and even all the way up to there. Then from past there, it's my brakes. I make sure my brakes are clear and clear to the pulley. I have no tip steering, so I don't have to worry about tip steering. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm glad, because like I said, we've seen some people that never even check to see if their streets are straight, their brakes are free and clear to pulley, and they clip
100%.
in, reach down, grab the brakes, get their A's. I've seen that numerous times at fly-ins, and I'm like, wow, you didn't even check that. And then
the only thing I've ever done, which I've done twice now, I do all the checks, which is normal because it's in my mind. But when I go to take off, sometimes I forget to grab my brakes. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. I don't grab my brakes and pull them off. I'm looking at them, but I just grab the A's and then I go to launch and I'm like, damn, I don't have my brakes. But it's easy to pull it. I'm like, hey, let it back down and start over. But yeah,
that's why the brakes are free and clear to pulley is very smart, because the brakes are in your hand.
Yeah. If I would, well, I mean, I look and I make sure they're clear, but I didn't grab them off because I think usually after I check everything, that's when I start my motor, and then I forget to go back down and grab my brakes. Is what the problem is. So I've now incorporated that into my checklist because I've done it twice, and it's not going to happen a third time.
Good. I'm glad you're
That's
safe.
why I do my last checklist again. Brakes, doors are shut after I start the motor.
Yeah, there you go. After you start it.
Yeah, okay. Because I've done that before myself, Steve. I've done it all, and oh man, I forgot that. Now start over.
Yeah, the wing comes up perfect. You're like, damn, I can't pull brakes because I don't have them in my hands.
Well, luckily I didn't get the wing up. Grandpa saw it, and I was like, oh okay, let me chill out a minute.
Now, you know that in the future, one of the advanced things that we do is to launch without grabbing the brakes. Just like when we kite without the brakes, you can launch easily without brakes. You don't need brakes in your hand.
I could have done that. I chose not to. I mean, my wing was perfect, but I was like, I don't want to, because just in case the wing decided to overshoot me, I didn't want it to frontal. So I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just stop. So I did.
Was the brake on the magnet?
Yeah, and my brakes aren't just magnets. They have that stupid weird
Oh
thing that clips in. They're a pain in the ass. So
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't like those. I wish it was the regular magnet. It would be so much easier. So much easier.
There's one thing that wasn't mentioned. I do everything everyone just said, but also the final check to make sure the area is clear.
Yeah,
very good.
Because by
the area and the sky
lined up, centered on the wing, and you're ready to go, something could have changed.
Exactly. Well, I had a really good time. We still have an hour drive back to the field tonight. We got to head on out. So I'd love to be able to talk for another couple hours like we normally do. But
Kevin, good luck tomorrow. That's all I want to say. Good luck, man. You just don't jump in your seat early. If that's any advice I could give you, do not jump in that damn seat. Resist the urge.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. So if there's nothing else.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to, there's no shows on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is Just Want to Fly with Jay Muir. And then I'm just jumping in there, Sean.
Yeah.
Get it.
And on Thursdays is paraglidingtalk.com with my son, Robert Michaels. And that's always a fun show. And then Scuba, you have a show. on Friday Night Scuba. Tell us about your shows.
Oh, Lord.
It is her
don't put
show.
me on
It
the
is her
spot.
show.
Don't put- Yeah, I do a show on Friday nights, 8 to 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It does talk a lot about vaping, which I'm doing now, and not taking the wrong vape devices up when you fly because it will burn them out. I've learned. So don't do that. And we talk about paramotors also, because if you fly a paramotor, you're going to talk about paramotors. So that happens. There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then if you want to be a guest on my show, just go to my yes, what grandpa
Are
always
you
says.
ParamontUSA.com or something like that?
Yes, ParamontUSA.com takes you right to my Facebook page, and just say, I want to be a guest on your show, and I'll get you on the show. And then I just have to say a shout out to Northern Lights Paramotor LLC. You see, I represent. Got my pretty little tandem picture behind me. And so thank you, Eric and Jade.
It's my flamingo
bunch.
jade sticker.
Cool.
There you go.
She even writes a personal message on the back. Isn't that nice?
Oh,
That's so pretty.
I need to put this somewhere on my paramotor. I haven't figured out where yet. I'm going to figure something out.
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Okay, I'm done now.
All right. Well, we can't leave Will out. We can't
No, I
leave
just want to
Will
make sure
out.
Linda's done. Yeah, so no, anyways, Just the Tip 12.0 is out, working on Just the Tip 13.0. And if you want to see my videos, you can go to Will Fly PPG.
I was in that video. Did you see me?
Yes, you were. So you can go to willflyppg.com or youtube.com/willfly. Take you right there.
You just need a sticker to go on that shirt. Then it'll say Will Fly Products.
Actually, that's a pretty good idea.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's
I
when you
like
just
that.
you just wear other people's shirts and just
Fly
kinda-
Products, and it says Will Fly Products. What's up? I will fly any product. Give it to me.
I will fly. And in
That's
case
great.
you don't know who I am, I'm PPG Grandpa. You can find me at ppggrandpa.com, but I'm always over at paramotorarkansas.com at our flight school. And we have a nonprofit organization to help disabled veterans get into the sky. And we call that Run Into the Sky, Don't Sit.com. Wait a minute. No, we shorten it up. Runintothesky.org. And we are ready to rock and roll. How many people do we have in the queue, Mr. Butch Fly?
11.
We got 11 people in the
11,
queue.
damn.
And if we want to get up with you and your flying shenanigans and what you're doing, we go over to where?
ppgbutch.com, or you can find me on YouTube at Fly Butch Fly. Yeah, I was uploading the video.
I don't think Kevin's going to forget about sitting in the seat. I think we got that one drilled into his head now. I mean, that's the mistake I made when I was training. So I'm just trying to avoid you making a mistake, because there's a couple of bad things that can happen if you jump in your seat too quick. Number one, which is what happened to me. Yeah, I flew about 30 feet right down into the ground, because if you jump in too quick, you're adding all your weight onto that glider and it goes right down into the ground. So that's why it's important to let it pull you up and then get into your seat. Then you're fine.
He's gonna go to sleep tonight. He's gonna be dreaming about that now.
He's
Yeah,
going to do
don't
great.
sit,
I mean,
don't
he's
sit, don't
had
sit.
so much training
That's it.
now. I don't think he's going to have a problem at all.
I don't think either.
Kevin's going to be just smoking it tomorrow.
Smoking it.
Vaping it.
He
Yeah.
don't even have to vape. He could just get up there and scream from the sky like Butch did.
Like a bird.
I can burn, baby.
I almost forgot, the second annual Fly It for Gauge Fly-In is happening, and it's probably going to happen early this year. So I think it's going to be March. We'll let you know more when we sure things up a little bit. But yeah,
We definitely going to make it to, Butch and I are going to make it to all of the fly-ins next year. We can't miss fly-ins. We missed it for 2 or 3 years, 2 years now. Can't miss anymore. We got to go for sure.
all right.
All right. Anything
Okay.
else, guys?
That's it.
If not, blue skies, and hope everyone run into the sky. We'll catch you next time on PPG Grandpa's Paramotor Podcast, Clear Prop TV, paratalk.org, and I think there's another one. but I don't remember.
Come on,
what it-
everybody, put your hearts.
Goodness.
Love y'all.
Big
Love
heart.
y'all. Come on, Scuba.
Why is my
Yeah.
heart not working? There it
There's
goes.
a heart.
Woo-hoo!
I got my heart on. I mean, yeah.
Mine somewhat. Something like that.
You sick.
Guys, you all be safe.
No, don't do that to our
Not your heart
podcast.
Good night, guys.
All right, good night, y'all. On that note, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I say.